All right, welcome back, guys. This is ZCT number 17, and following the tradition that we've been using for the past few podcasts, we're going to do just a quick fire Q&A with some questions that we've gotten from YouTube, from Instagram, and so forth. So let's get right into it. The first one from Mike Jones. Your driving experience up to this point and how you continue to get faster. I'll keep this one real quick. I am not continuing to get faster because I have not been going to the track, and that's the only way for me to get faster. My 911 is being worked on right now. Knock on wood, fingers crossed. Hopefully by January it'll be ready, and then I can actually start tracking it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, because we all kind of track in a group, we're getting antsy to get out there.
Yeah.
But there's no replacement for seat time.
Yes.
And just working your way up to get faster. And unfortunately, you're kind of on the edge of like getting faster, but you have to take a little more, not risk, but you have to push yourself more and more and more.
Mm-hmm. And
so there's a fine line between doing it going too hard, but also being good enough at the track to slowly get better.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully in the next year we attend some events, and that's how we'll get better.
I hope so, because I have a lot of friends like Sago
and
Alex, and
freaking fast.
They're getting so much. They're like tracking more during the pandemic than before, because like they have nothing else to do.
Right.
I would be doing the same thing, but like just
car situation. So.
All right. Next question. Have you considered a C5 Z06 or C6 Z06 with their double wishbone design on all four corners and 50-50 weight distribution? I hear they drive like big Miatas, especially when you ditch the leaf springs for coilovers. Yeah, so I've driven a C6 Z06. Actually, I drove two different ones. This was a long time ago. And I remember the car just like literally scaring the living hell out of me.
Oh, that's a lot of torque, a lot of
just
power.
Too much power, not enough traction. So personally, I would not consider one of those. It's just too much car for me to handle. It's not a knock on the car. Although there's also the whole like dropped valve issue with those cars, which is kind of a big deal if you're planning to track it. So I don't know. It's not a car that's on my radar, but I do have a lot of respect for people who can drive them very quickly.
Right. And I think with that comment, though, you're going to irk a lot of people that say it's just like not just you mentioned big Miata. There's going to be a lot of triggered Miata fans out there. That's for sure. Because it's kind of funny at track days. It's always the Miata and Corvette drivers that are
butting heads
and feuding. They're just like, oh, this Corvette wouldn't let me pass and I'm faster than him in the corners. I was like, well, this Miata couldn't get past me because I was lifting and everything. It happens every single track day.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I thought that was funny. We're like, oh, is it just a big Miata? I was like, you're gonna piss off a lot of Miata fans.
Yeah, every track day, the very first download session is just like Corvette owners versus Miata owners.
Miata's like, I couldn't get past him, and I was faster than him in the corner.
Yeah.
Anyways,
let's
get to the next question.
Okay. All right. Interested about your thoughts on the new Mark 8 Golf R, mainly its price and how does it compare to the Mark 7? Okay, granted, I haven't done a whole lot of homework on this question, but I have seen pictures and reviews of the Mark 8 GTI.
Okay.
And just the Mark 8 Golf in general. And I'm just not a huge fan of how it looks. I think I don't know, they're trying a little too hard. And I think the old Mark 7 was a good looking car, but now it's just getting kind of dull looking. Like whereas all the other hot hatches out there are really like pushing the envelope of design. Like the Veloster and the Civic Type R.
Oh, yeah.
Cars like that are, they're trying to look aggressive. The new GR Yaris.
Yeah.
Looking car. Whereas the Golf R and the GTI just looks like a slightly modded version of a normal Golf. And also the interior, I hate the interior of the new Golf.
Okay.
Because everything, there's no physical buttons anymore. Everything is a touch. So you get fingerprints on it. You're not going to be able to like kind of feel for it without like looking at it. And it's just it's a design exercise to make it look futuristic and cool. But in reality, physical buttons are just way easier to use.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately with cars becoming more and more like technology integrated, a lot of designs are pushing towards that.
Yeah.
I think an example of this is like the Subaru Outback is like the whole center console thing is a big old touchscreen.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with you. I could go for a mix with physical and touchscreen, but if it's all touchscreen, that would not set well
Like
with me.
climate control buttons should not be on a touchscreen in my
No,
in my
you got to
opinion.
be able to just, if I'm cold, just
Yeah.
and
I
I
don't
want
wanna,
more air, or
Exactly.
adjust that way. So
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, in my opinion.
okay.
Okay, so that's that one.
And then while he's looking up the next question, I think in terms of design, I agree with you were saying the design of more hot hatches are getting more aggressive. I feel like, the Golf in general hasn't changed
Yeah.
like much.
Yeah, it's not unique to the Mark 8, I guess, is your point. Like the Golf has always just kind of been the most subdued, like understated one.
Yeah. I mean, if you like the looks, then go for it, But like you're not going to get anything that's like eye catching.
I just think if they took that Golf platform and then just gave it wide arches, that alone would make it look super like badass.
wide body it.
Yeah. Like, factory wide body, never go wrong with that.
All right.
Okay, next question. I'm very curious if you get excited about new cars. I can't get excited for new cars personally, but curious how you feel. I think it depends. It depends on what the car is. Like, if we're talking, a new family sedan, I don't give a rat's ass about that. But like, I think, like we just did the last episode on concept cars. Like, those are all kind of like new cars, and I think in general, I am very excited about them. I think maybe what Blake, the person who posted this question, is inferring is like how we're moving to electric, automatic 4-wheel drive. In that aspect, yes, it's kind of disappointing because we're all about like manual transmission, like raw driving experience and all of that. But I think it's something that we have to just get used to and accept. I mean, we're already past that point of being able to not accept it, because we are living in the future.
Yeah, we're in it, and the amount of combustible engine cars is going down. And we're moving to electric, and there's going to be an electric counterpart to every non-electric one that comes out.
Exactly.
This is how it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it, but I understand it. I care about the environment as well. So it's always like it's an interesting like dichotomy of like caring about the world, but also like wanting to hold on to my like gas guzzling like manual like sports cars. But yeah, I think in general I am excited about new cars, and just I've been able to like reset my expectation on what new cars can deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you want to tackle it from a different perspective, just like new cars coming out in general, a lot of car companies are kind of trying to sell you a lifestyle now for a car, because you have a lot of these people entering the market, and all they're buying is these economy cars, right? Like, but then you get companies coming out like now where I think people are trying to curtail their designs. These car companies are trying to make their designs cool and off-roady. So the Bronco that just came out, I think to me that's exciting. And then Chevy came out or GM came out with their new Hummer that's electric. So
really?
It's just like this big old expensive Hummer thing that it's super expensive, but it has like off-roading stuff or whatever. So, unfortunately for our interest and people watching this, there's probably not as many things to get excited about, because the amount of cars that are coming out that we like from a sports car perspective are just not being made. So like the big exciting news is the FRS or the new 88 or the 86. And so other than that, we're just like, just like any little crumbs they can drop us. Before it was like, just waves and waves of news, and now it's just not as plentiful. So
it's definitely not like the 90s anymore, where just like every manufacturer was just coming out with like awesome sports cars.
Yeah. So
okay. And then so this next question, speaking of all-wheel drive, does the 2021 Lexus IS 350 intrigue the two of you? No.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting Lexus's position on the market with their F Sports, and I guess they just are targeting people who want to drive kind of fast in luxury. Yeah. But it never piques our interest in terms of performance or on track. So it's not going to be interesting to either of us. Even from like a cruiser perspective, I wouldn't be interested. Like if I were to daily drive it, I'd rather get something that's more positioned as a more comfy, luxurious car than a sporty, luxurious car.
Yeah.
I'd rather just go full sport if that was the case.
So like I agree. So I don't care. I don't care at all about the F Sport line because those are essentially like it's like the equivalent of the BMW M Sport. I mean, actually, I had an M Sport, so I'm kind of being contradictory right now. But in general, like those cars, they don't actually perform any better than the base models. It's just like aesthetics and, you know, slightly lower suspension, things like that, which I just don't care about. And also the thing that I'm not a really big fan of that Lexus has been holding on to with their cars is the IS350 has been using like a V6 for a while now, and it's just not a very exciting engine to me. Like it's naturally aspirated, which normally is good for me, but like this one's just kind of a not that exciting engine.
Right,
It's like
right.
a little over 300 horsepower in a car that's somewhat heavy.
Yeah, I'm curious to know from your viewers like what they think about Lexus and sportiness in general. Because I mean that question came up, so I mean there's got to be some people who are interested in it. But just to me, it never was on my radar for something as a sporty car I would ever track. The only thing it would be like the older IS, right, with the manual transmission.
Yeah, the older IS. Yeah.
But other than that, nothing. Like even the RCF or whatever. It's cool, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I would actually love to drive an RCF. I test drove a GSF a few years ago.
Okay.
Just at a dealership, and I really like the comfort, the design of that car. Really luxurious interior, and that screaming V8 is amazing. And same thing with the newer LC500. I think that's a badass car.
Okay.
But nothing that I would, I guess, ever spend my money on. And the last question. This is just a random question I found in another video, but I think it's worth answering. I would like to know the benefits of you owning this Porsche over the one you just sold, referring to the 911 I just got. I still see you getting an S2000 at some point, but it looks good. I hope you get those engine issues taken care of. Yeah, I hope so too.
So why don't you address the first thing? What are you getting out of the 911 that you're not getting out of the Cayman?
Okay, I'll give you a very straightforward answer.
Okay.
Nothing. It's performance-wise, it's probably the same. It's only got an extra 30 horsepower, but it's heavier. It's rear engine, so inherently the handling's worse.
Not as good, yeah.
And it's like from the same generation with like a very similar engine design. So it still has basically all the same problems, like bore scoring and all that crap. I only bought it because it was a good deal. I love how it looks with the GT3 bumpers. And it's a 911. Like it's...
Yeah, that is like the car,
Yeah.
right? And then, you know, like I like how you just straight away said you get nothing out of it. Because technically the Cayman and it being mid-engine is like, I mean, I don't want to piss off a lot of 911 people, but like it's technically from a physics standpoint better for handling. So.
And if I get the 911 sorted, I'll definitely do a video talking about how it compares to the Cayman. But I've driven the 911 hard a couple of times in the canyons, and when I put my foot down coming out of a corner, it doesn't feel right. Like it power understeers coming out of a corner, whereas the Cayman just feels more balanced.
I see.
But it's already done. So
yep, it's done, and now you're on to the next thing.
Yeah. And then the next part of the question is like, I still see you getting an S2000. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have another S2000 in the future. It's just a matter of like, will I have the parking space for it?
Parking space, or can you get? I mean, who knows what they'll look like in the future in terms of availability? Yeah. I have a feeling that because people still drive the crap out of them at the track, and then just by a number standpoint, you're going to lose a lot of them out there. You know, so I'm very curious to see what the S is going to happen to it, you know, in years to come.
Yeah,
so.
and the values in general are just getting out of hand now.
Right. It's just like with any car, it kind of just, you know, the supply goes down, demand goes
down, but also just like since the pandemic started, used enthusiast car market has been booming.
Yeah. If you have one to sell, now is the time.
Yeah.
You know, because like, I mean, I don't know if you want to touch base on your process of selling the Cayman, but like you were telling me like, I had like a bajillion offers. I was like, oh, dang, I wish, when I was selling my old car, I had the same thing. But yeah, so why don't you just
that's a very good point, because I have had people asking me about that. selling the Cayman was very interesting. It was a little stressful actually, because I had posted on Craigslist. By the way, you have to pay like $5 to post on Craigslist now.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, just to post it, and it's only
Oh.
up there for like I want to say a month or two or something, and then you have to like pay another $5 to renew it. So I posted on Craigslist. Within 3 days, I had 5 or 6 people hitting me up. They all seemed interested. They were clearly not tire kickers. They asked for maintenance. They were asking for like very specific Porsche things like, oh, can you send me the DME over rev report? Can you send me the receipts for like the clutch and like the oil pan? And I was like, yeah, like here's everything. Like I have nothing to hide about this car.
You entertain those because they're serious.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then like, some people came to test drive it and stuff. We scheduled time to like go over it, and everyone who came by was like, seemed like they really liked the car. And then they said they'll go back and just like, run the numbers or whatever. Then I just never heard back from, or I guess, some of them told me they just decided not to get it, but none of those in that initial wave of buyers actually like followed through.
Right.
And then it was just dead silent for about a week. And I was like, did I price this car too high? Like, what's going on? I don't really see any other Cayman S's on the market. So like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, like I was getting ready, to be frank, to like either post it somewhere else, like on Facebook Marketplace, or to lower the price slightly. But I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to hold out. So
yeah,
I
it was
held
only
out.
a week. So
Yeah, granted, it was only a week, but it was just so weird going from all the initial interest to like nothing for a week. But then all of a sudden on the same day, like 5 or 6 people reached out, and then they were literally like fighting each other to come like get the car. Like I had one person come test drive it. He really liked it. And then he wanted to do a PPI on the car, which is totally...
Yeah, that's totally in their right to want to do that. Yeah.
And I feel bad because I could tell he was very interested in it. But then like the next day, someone else came by to drive it. And then he immediately was like, I want to buy it, but I can't buy it. I can't come get it until like the next day. And then on that next day, I had this appointment lined up with someone who's coming down from Sacramento, and he was supposed to test drive it, and he was willing to pay the asking price if everything checked out. And I had scheduled this like at least a week in advance.
I see.
But because the interest just blew up so quickly, I ended up having to like turn him down, which I felt bad about, but I wanted to get the car off my hands.
Right. You do what you do to secure the transaction.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So I ended up selling it to a subscriber, which is really cool.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That
And actually, the
aspect.
guy who came to test drive it and wanted the PPI, he like texted me after the car sold, and he was like, "Hey, like I saw your latest video where you're like," he was like, "Hey, your garage looks very familiar," because he was just there like looking at like the NSX.
Oh,
and
I
everything.
see.
Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm subscribed too." So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'm
Yeah.
glad it worked out.
So yeah, and I think when you hear about that much generated interest, sometimes you get guys that are just pulling your legs, like, oh no, I have like so many offers, like I can't, blah blah. But you were a seller that had all these offers.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that it's so hot right now, the used car market.
Yeah, it really is.
You can't really at the dealerships they're struggling to keep them in supply.
Yeah.
So I heard like if you sell your car to Carvana, like they'll just take it off your hands,
Yeah.
with more money. So yeah, now it's time that to really sell your car.
Yeah,
So,
it's definitely a seller's market right now.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
I think that was it. So if you guys have any topic requests for the future, just leave them in the comments or, post them on Instagram, and we'll see you next time.